HelpAged is a platform aiming at helping elderly people with their daily life. It is composed of three main parts: a social assistant that will help the elderly to communicate and share using a unified communication system, a healthcare assistant that will help sick elderlies to better take care of themselves, and a very extensible, highly customizable and ubiquitous platform. This project has been developed by a French team composed of 4 students from several cities. There is Gauthier, business and marketing expert from Paris; Régis, team leader and developer from Montpellier; Theo, graphic designer and user experience manager from Paris; and finally Sébastien, architect and main developer of the product from Lille. So why did we build HelpAged? Do you know that more than 22% of the French population is older than 60 years? This is huge, isn't it? Regarding this population, 35% unfortunately live alone, and the situation tends to stay that way, therefore closing links with their friends and family, and thus reducing their social and physical activities. This is unacceptable. On top of that, at least 90% are affected by at least one chronic disease. They have to do daily follow-ups in order to watch the evolution of the illness and adapt their medications in consequence. Last but not least is that during this presentation, about 9 people in the world will develop Alzheimer's disease and will start forgetting. That's why we've designed HelpAged in order to adapt new technologies to elderly needs. Let's see a demonstration of the solution. Danny comes back home and wants to use her computer. She is automatically identified using the facial recognition system, so she no longer has to remember a password. Once identified, Danny arrives on her custom homepage. There are several space-time point processes always displayed. For example, the hour is displayed twice using different formats so she can always know what time it is. The date is also displayed because retired people often lose track of the current date as they are not working anymore and have little routine. And finally, there's also a weather forecast, which is one of the most preferred services among the elderly. On the other side of the screen, there's the menu. It's composed of 4 links to different universes and a button that brings you back to the home page. The universes are simple categories for applications. On the top, there's the personal universe, which contains personal data regarding yourself, your life, or even your city. Then there's the social universe, where you can communicate, interact, and share data with friends and family. The third one is the health universe, where you will find applications that will help you monitor your hypertension or remind you of your medications, for example. And the last one is the activities universe. In this one, you will find games, radio, movies, and any fun applications you might want. When Régis wants to talk to his grandmother, he can now use Windows Live Messenger and start a video chat. Danny and Régis can both easily talk with each other using their favorite application without any flaws. Sharing pictures between family members has become easier. For example, when her grandson takes a picture and wants to share it with his family, he can easily upload it on Live Mesh using a smartphone and our built-in mobile application. On her computer, Danny can see the picture that has just been shared by her grandson. She can comment using the voice recognition software that this is a nice picture, and this will be automatically sent back to the sender of the picture as a text message. All the configuration is done through an easy-to-use website that can be managed by any member of the family or even a third person. One of the most interesting features is the possibility to add any Flash or Silverlight application by simply copying and pasting its address. In the administration zone, you can manage users' accounts, which mostly consist of adding or removing applications. Adding a crossword game requires a single copy and paste. Danny can now enjoy playing crosswords on her computer. Danny, unfortunately, has hypertension and must measure her blood pressure several times a week. Our application can retrieve this data from a Bluetooth blood pressure monitor and display a graph showing the evolution of her tension. All the data is stored in Health Vault so that they can be seen by family members as well as the doctor. Danny also must take a lot of pills each day, but she often forgets which one she already took. Using our medication application, she can easily keep track of her medication and avoid taking the same pill twice. We've noticed that very often, when someone is told they're affected by Alzheimer's, they want to leave a mark of their existence. Therefore, we've designed a digital memory that will help them note everything they want. As for example, they might want to write down a story about their wedding, or the first steps of their grandchild. We can also use this data in memory training applications. One of the first problems that Alzheimer's disease causes is a loss of short-term memory efficiency. You often lose track of what you just did and what you have to do next. That's why we've developed a proactive process system to guide you. For example, Danny has to go to the drugstore in order to get her medication. After a little while, she has forgotten where she was heading and what she was doing on the street. The mobile phone's GPS detects that she is not walking anymore and vibrates. Danny picks up the phone and can read that she has to go to the pharmacy to buy her medication. We're addressing the elderly in nursing homes as well as individuals. On the first hand, it will allow nursing homes to provide an additional and regular activity at a reasonable cost. A small number of computers will connect all the residents with their families. Secondly, for individuals, Help Aged is a system that will limit loneliness and improve medical follow-ups. Let's talk about the architecture. The user can use Help Aged installed on any machine. This one will connect to Help Aged services, which will ask the user's identity using facial or digital print recognition systems. Then, we will use the user's identity to connect to his live services in order to retrieve his configuration, his list of applications, and his personal data. With this list, we'll update the installed package on the machine. For the nursing home IT administrator, the deployment and installation is very easy. Either he buys Help Aged machines, which come with the pre-installed solution, or he already has his own computers on which he will install the Help Aged small kernel. Then all the configuration will be made through the administration zone on the website. All remaining configuration will be made through the administration zone on the website. We also provide an SDK that will allow third-party developers to build their own applications for Help Aged. They can use Visual Studio to create, test, and debug their application locally. We also provide an SDK that will allow third-party developers to build their own applications for Help Aged. They can use Visual Studio to create, test, and debug their application locally. Once they're done, they can send their application to Help Aged services in order to publish it. Any Help Aged client will then be able to buy and install the application through the application store. So, as we've seen, Help Aged is composed of a client, which is the central kernel of our application. This is WPF-based for a user-friendly interface and uses MEF technology to enable high extensibility. We use WCF for all the communications with Help Aged services, themselves based on Windows Azure and Azure Storage to store data and configurations. All of this is based on a live ID identification and uses live services to store configuration and personal data. Finally, we use .NET services for all the communications between the services. But all of that is way too technical for our users. Therefore, Help Aged is touch-based and really intuitive. Useful, easy to use and to manage. Connected to friends, family, and doctor. Extensible and customizable in order to adapt functionalities depending on users' needs. And finally, user-centric. So, what we'd like you to remember about Help Aged are these 3 points. First, we've built a social assistant that helps lonely people stay in touch with their family and friends. Second, we've integrated a healthcare assistant that makes it easier to deal with their illnesses. And finally, we provide an extensible platform so you can customize Help Aged at your wishes.